Ladies and gentlemen, Tesla's robotaxi launch is on Thursday. It seems like a lot of Wall Street doesn't even know this. It seems like it's kind of flying under the radar for a lot of people. And I think given Elon and Trump pretty much making up recently, and with this event and Tesla stock, look at this, sold off like in a week, like 26%. It sets us up for a very strong rally because it's over. It's the end of an era for Tesla. The era of, is FSD ever going to produce a robotaxi? Are we ever going to get fully autonomous rides from Tesla? It's over. It's here. And much the same way as Apple is, where Wall Street really cares about services. Okay? We're going to start to see a transition in Wall Street psychology that deliveries of Tesla don't matter as much. That we could actually have a not so great year this year in terms of deliveries. But if we get robotaxi and massive AI advancements within Tesla with Optimus, Tesla stock is going to soar. It's going to skyrocket. Now, there's one big catalyst Thursday. Like, one big catalyst. Obviously, robotaxi. But there's one thing that's going to turn Tesla into a monster. It is guidance. I'm optimistic. I'm hopeful. I don't know what percent I would put on that, but I'm optimistic and hopeful that we get guidance for scalability. It's one thing to do a couple autonomous robotaxi rides. Sure, I get that argument. Not that important. But where the real magic comes in for Tesla is how fast are they able to scale? I would think if you're Elon and the Tesla team, you would want to give us some guidance for scalability. Just launching the robotaxi network in Austin and saying, "Oh, cool, it's here. There's that." Like, great. I mean, that's good news, but where's the follow-up, right? As investors, you always want to know what's next. Stocks, they trade on what's coming, not what already happened. You could have the best product ever, one-hit wonder, and nobody's going to care about that stock if it doesn't continue, right? Not specifically referencing Tesla as a one-hit wonder, but if Elon has anything positive to say about scalability and guidance, for an example, like Tesla is going to enter 10 cities next year, or 20 cities next year, or 30 cities next year. If Elon says we're already in negotiations with several major cities to launch robotaxi this year, as he has said before, he did say that before, that there's going to be other cities by the end of this year. But if he gives us further guidance on that, Tesla's stock is going to go parabolic. And I think this could be the start of the Tesla stock short squeeze. Now, I do believe heading into Thursday, you're probably going to get a pretty big rally as well. Just because Elon Trump kind of making up over this weekend, like that's big. That's important. Okay. So I think you're already going to head into Thursday on a pretty good note. We do have the inflation report on Wednesday. We have a couple other catalysts as well in terms of economic data, some earnings like from Oracle. We do have the first meeting between U.S. and Chinese trade representatives in London tomorrow, which I'm optimistic could bear some pretty good fruits. Trump says that he thinks the meeting will be good. Again, this is the first meeting since the Trump-Xi phone call. And there's obviously an area of contention between rare earth materials. That's what the U.S. wants. And China wants semiconductors. It's pretty clear here. If there's some kind of deal worked out, at least even temporarily, between lifting export controls on rare earth materials and letting NVIDIA sell more semiconductors. Do you know what that's going to do for markets? When the headline comes out, U.S. government lifts restrictions on NVIDIA chips in China. Do you know what that's going to do for NVIDIA? It's going to be massive. See, back in 2022, NVIDIA had a 90% market share in the GPU market in China. That was before the AI Cold War started between the US and China. And if you don't think it's an AI Cold War, you're sleeping under a rock. It's an AI Cold War. And it's actually very good. Like, that's great news. Cold Wars, innovation wars, force innovation. They force change, and there's a lot of money to be made in a relatively short amount of time. You get like 100 years of innovation in 20 years, right? I think that's what the last 20 years were, or really like the Cold War 20 years with Russia. We had a lot of innovations that led to the products that we have today. We wouldn't have a lot of the products we have today without the Cold War. So the AI Cold War with China is only going to bear fruits for investors. But nonetheless, I do think we are at a critical turning point for the Tesla story. And I think when you mix, hopefully, what could be good news coming out tomorrow morning on the semiconductor front, or at least talks with China in general, you mix the fact that I think we're not going to see inflation this year. We're going to see a strong economy, a focus on AI and innovation by Wall Street, and Tesla's at the forefront of that. You're likely going to see rate cuts from the Fed, again, with no inflation. That at least should happen. Or not an inflation problem. I'm not going to say no inflation, like CPI is not going to be zero, but we're not going to have this inflation problem. Mix that with greater clarity on earnings, deregulation. You could easily see Tesla a $600 stock by the end of this year. You could see Tesla a $900 stock by the end of next year, or more, right? If Tesla scales to 30 cities next year, I wouldn't be super shocked to see Tesla over $1,000 next year, which, you know, wouldn't be too crazy from at least, you know, where we are today. Especially if Robotaxi can actually operate without massive losses. Like, it will kind of be disappointing for some investors if Robotaxi just has massive losses associated with it. Now, I don't know how we're going to categorize things out. I think Tesla's probably already realized a lot of the quote-unquote losses because of the investments they've made in semiconductors. Like, we're not going to all of a sudden include the semiconductor investments in that calculation. So I don't see Robotaxi being a massive money pit. But the more we scale, if it's not profitable, the more the loss, you know, inevitably would be. And we'll just have to see. But the faster the scalability, the better off for Tesla. Okay? And the more Wall Street will take notice. And I think short sellers could start to get squeezed as soon as this Thursday. Now, the short position in Tesla is currently 3.04%. You have $24.26 billion sold short in Tesla, 85.23 million shares in total sold short. This is a massive short position on Tesla, let alone all of the investors that in the last couple of days maybe have been spooked out of their long positions in Tesla. I think there's going to be a lot of demand coming in for Tesla following the Thursday event. And as I've said here on this channel before, it looks like the markets are ready to break all-time highs. We're only 2% away. And once we do, you're going to start seeing a lot of the bears on this market start to turn bullish. The fact of the matter is, new all-time highs tend to precede new all-time highs. Like, once a market hits an all-time high, it tends to hit multiple more all-time highs way more times than not. Vice versa, if you get a big drop, big recovery, if you're going to fail, you're going to fail before you break a new all-time high. Okay? Which is like right now. So if we don't fail this rally, you know, you're going to see markets get pretty excited. Even you can look at the history of the S&P. Like once you break a prior high, whether it's a multi-month high or all-time high, you tend to get a lot more activity and more volume that comes in, right? Here's a pretty notable one. When you had the decline from July of 2023 through the lows of October 2023, this was like a, what, 10% correction, something like that? Yeah, 11% correction. Great. Once you actually broke the prior high on July 27th, back in December of 2023, that's when you really got a big breakout. And that's when markets took off from there. I think you could see something similar breaking all-time highs this time around. And I think that could happen this week. And, well, what do you think it's going to do for Tesla? Mix that with a positive event on Thursday and Trump and Elon making up, essentially making up, not technically, but like kind of making up. Yeah, it could get pretty explosive for Tesla this week. And I think, again, as long as Thursday goes well, hopefully we get some guidance from Tesla on scalability of robotaxi. I think it sets us up for that 600 target into year end. Ladies and gentlemen, let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. Are you bullish? Are you bearish? Do you not care? Is it a wait and see kind of thing? Let me know your thoughts down below. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.